so we are going to call the December 18th, 2024 Reidsville Planning Board to order. All right, first we have roll call. I'll start with you, Joe.
Here.
All right, and then we got Bill.
I'm here.
And Thomas.
Here.
And Cindy here. Tamara.
Tamara Lipscomb, present.
And James Motley, present.
Great. All right, so first we're going to do the approval of the minutes. Does anybody have any questions or corrections? All right. No?
I make a motion, no question. I make a motion the minutes from the last meeting be accepted.
And I second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, so our first order for consideration is consideration of a special use permit application to operate a hazardous waste transfer facility. Would you like me to read this statement now? So this is a quasi-judicial evidentiary hearing per North Carolina General Statute 160D-406 and 705 that sets forth the standards for granting a special use permit as follows. The board's discretion is limited. The board must base its decision upon competent, relevant, and substantial evidence in the record. A quasi-judicial decision is not a popularity contest. It is a decision constrained by the standards in the ordinance and based on the facts presented. If you will be speaking as a witness, please focus on the facts and standards, not personal preference or opinion. Participation is limited. This meeting is open to the public. Everyone is welcome to watch. Parties with standing have rights to fully participate fully. Parties may present non-repetitive evidence, call witnesses, and make legal arguments. Parties are limited to the applicant, the local government, and individuals who can show they will suffer special damages. Other individuals may serve as witnesses when called by the board. General witness testimony is limited to facts, not opinions. For certain topics, the board needs to hear opinion testimony from expert witnesses. These topics include projections about impacts on property values and projections about impacts of increased traffic. Individuals providing expert opinion must be qualified as experts and provide the factual evidence upon which they base their expert opinion. Witnesses must swear or affirm their testimony. At this time, we will administer the oath for all individuals who intend to provide witness testimony.
So if you will be speaking for this item, if you'd please stand.
I don't know if I will or not, but
I'll swear you all in, that way we're good. All right, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly declare and affirm that the evidence you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes.
And then before you three leave, I'll just get your names for the record.
Okay.
I'll go first. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Clean Earth Special Waste Solutions Incorporated is requesting a special use permit for the facility located at 211 Rockingham Drive, Rockingham County Tax Parcel Number 157383. The request includes constructing a 10-day hazardous waste transfer facility within the existing principal structure. The property is zoned Industrial 2, I-2. This is the heavy industrial district. Hazardous waste transfer stations are allowed in I-2 per Article 5, Section 3, special uses with approval of a special use permit. The adjacent lots to the north are zoned highway business, HB, heavy industrial I-2, as well as the abutting lot to the east is zoned light industrial I-1. The abutting and adjacent lots to the west and south are also heavy industrial. The area is characterized by a mix of industrial and highway commercial uses. The closest residential zoning or use is roughly 560 plus feet to the northeast off Barnes Street. The standards in the zoning ordinance for hazardous and medical waste storage, treatment, and or transfer facilities in the I-2 district are as follows. And keep in mind, this entails both hazardous and medical waste storage. So there's two kinds of things going on there, so the applicant can discuss what they're trying to store.
Okay.
But some of this is medical too, so this is just all of the standards. Facilities for storage, collection, transferring, or transporting of hazardous or radioactive waste products not generated on site. Facilities for storage, collection, transferring, transporting, or treating of medical waste products not generated on site as defined below. Classification of hazardous waste products. Products shall be classified as hazardous waste according to the definition in use by the United States Environmental Protection Administration, or medical waste as defined by 15A NCAC 13B.0101. Medical waste for treatment utilizing the autoclaves include non-regulated medical waste, which is solid waste that is generated in the diagnosis, treatment, or immunization of human beings or animals and research pertaining thereto, or in the production of testing of biologicals, such as materials may include bandages, dressings, gowns, gloves, linens, and clothing. Blood and body fluids such as liquid blood, serum, plasma, or other blood products, spinal fluids, and pleural and peritoneal fluids. Forgive me if I pronounced that incorrectly. Shards, which are needles, syringes, scalpel blades, syringes, capillary tubes, slides, and slipcovers, auto-injectors, exposed ends of dental wires, and other objects that can penetrate the skin. Pathological waste, including human tissues, organs, body parts, cultures, and stocks of infectious agents and animal carcasses is prohibited from treatment and storage. Record keeping. The owner or operator of the hazardous waste facility shall keep adequate records or manifest such that the type and transport or treatment within the jurisdiction, type and amount of waste products on site or in transport or treatment within the jurisdiction of the City of Reidsville can be determined at all times. These records or manifests shall be available for inspection upon request by any official or representative of the City of Reidsville so designated by the City Council. Protection from waste discharge. Adequate safeguards shall be provided to ensure that no discharge of waste products harmful to human health or the environment will occur. These safeguards shall include at least the following. Number one, storage tanks, storage yards, loading facilities, building or structures containing hazardous waste or medical waste products shall be located no closer than 100 feet from any exterior property line. Facilities must be designed, constructed, maintained, and operated to minimize the possibility of a fire, explosion, or any unplanned sudden or non-sudden release of hazardous or medical waste products in air, soil, surface, water, which could threaten human health or the environment. Dikes or other structures shall be constructed such that all surface spills or discharges of hazardous waste products will be contained on site. The owner or operator must prevent the unknowing entry and minimize the possibility for the unauthorized entry of persons or livestock onto the active portion of the facility. The petitioner shall agree that contingency plans will be developed upon receipt of a special use permit submitted to the City of Reidsville before operation of the facility begins. These plans must describe the actions to be taken by local officials and city emergency and safety departments in response to fires, explosions, or any unplanned sudden or non-sudden release of hazardous waste products to air, soil, or surface water at the facility, or while the hazardous and medical waste products are in transport within the jurisdiction of the City of Reidsville. No obnoxious odors from the hazardous waste facility shall be discernible from adjoining properties. Offsite transport. As a prerequisite to the approval of a special use permit, the City Council shall find that the use of the proposed facility will not endanger the safety of residential or other properties in the area, and that vehicular access to the storage or transferring facility will be provided from major thoroughfares and will not require the use of residential streets for access to the site. The owner or operator of the hazardous and medical waste facility shall allow authorized officials or representatives of the City of Reidsville access to the site and all facilities at any time and without prior notice. The purpose of such inspection shall only be to check for compliance with the provisions of the special use permit. The owner shall follow all regulations of the state of North Carolina and the City of Reidsville. Monitoring. In the event of any assumed or actual accidental discharge of hazardous or medical waste, the petitioner shall agree to pay the cost of all monitoring and analyses of air, soil, and surface or subsurface water quality as may be deemed necessary by the Reidsville City Council to protect human health and the environment. The monitoring may take place on and/or off-site, shall be conducted by a certified laboratory which has no association with either the City of Reidsville or the petitioner. Insurance. The owners of the hazardous and medical waste storage or transfer facilities shall provide evidence that they have adequate liability insurance to cover the cost of all cleanup which may become necessary as the result of any spill or discharge of hazardous or medical wastes, either during storage, transferring, transporting, or treating of medical waste within the jurisdiction of the City of Reidsville. Required buffers. Where a hazardous and medical waste facility abuts a lot in a residential district or land occupied by any residential use permitted by this ordinance, there shall be provided and maintained along said property line a continuous visual buffer. The buffer shall be a compact evergreen hedge or other type of evergreen foliage screening, or shall be a combined fence and shrubbery screen, the latter facing the residential use. Off-street parking. One space for each 2 employees on the largest shift, and 1 space for every truck to be stored or stopped simultaneously is required. As you're aware, the board must come to certain findings of fact regarding the impact of the development on the area. These findings of fact are found in the zoning ordinance, and they're listed in your agenda packets. It's the applicant's responsibility to provide evidence and materials showing all standards required by the ordinance for the special use permit are met. The board may also recommend conditions be placed on the application to ensure the proposed project meets the intent of the zoning ordinance. The following are the specific findings of fact from the zoning ordinance which the board must find. The use will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where proposed and developed according to the plan as submitted and approved. The use meets all required conditions and specifications. The use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property value, or that the use is a public necessity. The location and the character of the use, if developed according to the plan as submitted and approved, will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located and in general conformity with the land development plan for Reidsville and its surroundings. The planning staff recommend the following conditions be placed on the special use permit. The use shall be contained entirely within the existing principal structure. The use shall comply with the special use criteria for hazardous and medical waste storage, treatment, and/or transfer facilities per the Reidsville zoning ordinance, and the use shall meet all standards of the North Carolina State Building Code and Fire Code. And I'll be happy to answer any questions if I can.
So the adjacent properties, that they were all informed about this and had the okay.
They were all notified.
Notified, yes. Okay, great. What was my other question? For you.
Do I understand it right when you say a 10-day thing? Is that from when waste comes in, it's stored there for 10 days and then moves on, or what does that mean?
I'm not entirely sure. That's something the applicant, I believe,
I'll
will
ask
be able to answer. Yes, sir.
And then I have a question. The conditions placed on the special use permit, the use shall meet standards of North Carolina State Building and Fire Codes. Do we need to maybe also add anything about any kind of other state health department or state health kind of regulations? Who would be inspecting them from the state? What department, do you know?
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. EPA, maybe? Or does state EPA?
So
Yeah,
that
the state,
would
but-
follow their-
Okay.
We include
I don't know.
those
That's just extra.
They still apply regardless of.
Okay. I didn't know. That was my question, if we needed to add that or not. Okay.
Those still apply. We've always included those with the conditions just to reiterate them. But those two things still apply regardless of whether they're made conditions on there. So those regulations from
Okay.
the federal agency or state agency still apply.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
In relationship to the insurance coverage, the policy that the petitioner has to have in place, do we have a limit, a minimum to cover any situation that might occur?
The ordinance doesn't list a specific minimum. As you heard when I just read it out, that's all we have in the ordinances. Just, it says that they shall provide liability coverage in the amount in order to cover those. It doesn't list a specific amount. No, sir.
That's interesting.
In the case, if some, I'm sure nothing like this will happen, but if the cost of any event that occurs exceeds their current liability insurance, whatever policy is in place, where do we go from there?
That's something that I think that the board and everyone should take into account when you evaluate whether what they've submitted it meets the standards.
Okay. We'll put that to them.
Yeah, it's not something I'll be able to answer.
Right.
So.
Yeah, the one thing, and I certainly let the gentlemen make their presentations, but that while it's not adjacent to any residential, it is adjacent to hotels that could have a large number of people staying there for long periods of time. So, and right next door. So that is one thing that's just a little bit in my mind, but I'll certainly let them present that situation.
Any other questions for me? All right.
Thanks. All right, anyone else for or against that wants to present for this special use permit?
My name's Jim Gustafson. I work for Clean Earth. I'm a permitting compliance manager. I just put together a short presentation to try to answer any questions you might have preemptively. I will say, based on the previous presentation, just so we're all clear, there's no medical waste, there's no bodily fluid, none of that type of waste is happening or would happen at the site. So the picture, that's a view from the front of the building, just to get an idea. There's plenty of parking to address, one of the ordinance bullet numbers that was mentioned. And I'm just going to read this standard definition just so you guys have a better idea. So transport is accepting hazardous waste from a generator or another transporter may need to hold waste temporarily during the normal course of transportation. A transfer facility is defined as any transportation-related facility, such as loading docks, parking areas, storage areas, and other similar areas where shipments of hazardous waste are held during the normal course of transportation. That's according to 40 CFR 260.10. A hazardous waste transporter may hold waste without a storage permit in containers at a transfer facility for up to 10 days or less, as long as the waste is manifested and kept in U.S. DOT specific containers. So the containers, they're UN rated, so they go through it's called a performance-oriented packaging standard, so it addresses how they're constructed, the material they're constructed of, and basically the quantity that's allowed in each container. And so, additionally, transporters must mark their containers with the following information: the words hazardous waste and any applicable EPA waste code. So hazardous waste is regulated by the EPA, state like the Department of Environmental Quality in North Carolina, and the Department of Transportation. That being the case, EPA has a hand in it and DOT has a hand in it. So like, for example, if there's a flammable hazardous waste, the EPA waste code would be D001. So that's just what those waste codes are referring to. And then there's codes for corrosivity, reactivity, and specific codes for, more specific type of chemicals. The North Carolina hazardous waste transfer facility definition. A hazardous waste transfer facility means a facility or location where a hazardous waste transporter stores hazardous waste for a period of greater than 24 hours, but less than 10 days. And then they require, the DEQ requires a few forms and a registration. So Form TF is a hazardous waste transfer facility listing the transporters. And then Form TP is a hazardous waste transporter form for listing transfer facilities. Clean Earth has two transportation entities operating under them. One is Republic Environmental Systems Transportation Group, and then additionally to our site name, there's a Cleaner Specialty Waste Solutions, Inc., are both our internal transporters. So those would be listed on this TP form. And additionally, the site has to register with the state in order, as a transfer facility. And then this is the Clean Earth operates across the whole country. You can see we have 40 plus 10-day locations from the east to west. And this is an example of what most of our containers look like. Basically, we're shipping a lot of things you'd find in commercial establishments and retail stores like a Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, CVS, any kind of material that they sell. So this stuff's going over the road to them already, but it's not waste because it's product. So the only difference is when it's waste, it's determined that it's no longer wanted for a variety of reasons. So this is already being transported over the road. But when they get rid of it, the generator, the facility would usually package it in a drum. Our technicians also have a hand in that process. And it ships in containers like these. These are all UN-rated containers. And this is an example of a trailer load. What a trailer load might look like. There's load securement to keep everything in place. Each container is UN rated, and then it's additionally shrink wrapped either to the pallet, or the drums and containers on each pallet are shrink wrapped to minimize movement. DOT has their own specifications as to how much movement is allowed on transport, and it's a very small amount. So, and to address some previous questions, he talked about liability insurance. So, and I submitted this a few months ago, a couple weeks back. But so currently, our general liability limit is $5 million. Our excess liability limit is $15 million, and the umbrella, total is 15. Then we have an umbrella policy for $10 million. So we have a total of $15 million in liability. It's highly unlikely anything happening in any of our facilities would require that amount. We have a pretty good record of running our 10 days. Let me see what else. I had some additional notes here. So our drivers, so we have hazardous waste drivers, and anybody at the facility whose hand touches hazardous waste containers all have to go through EPA training and DOT training. DOT training is initially, and then every 3 years they have to go through refresher training. There's also OSHA HAZWOPER training, hazardous waste emergency response, and EPA record training. Let's see. If I had any other notes here. Oh, so that's right. So all the item numbers that Mr. Harden just went through, I put them in a spreadsheet, and I went through them, and I can go and address every one of those if that's what you'd like me to do, or do you want me to stop and you guys want to ask questions?
Well, we already, I mean, Mr. Harden did go through most of that. I think we could ask questions based on, would that be okay? Yes, questions, because we already went through all of them. Well, when you're done with your presentation, we'll ask questions. I'll let you finish. I don't want to cut you off.
I took out the stuff that dealt with medical waste and the stuff, the tanks. We don't have tanks on site, so I just narrowed it down to what specifically applies to our location. All right, so see, protection from waste discharge. Adequate safeguards shall be provided to ensure that no discharge of waste products from the environment will occur. These safeguards shall include at least the following. All storage yards, loading facilities, buildings, or structures containing hazardous waste products shall be located no closer than 100 feet. I believe we meet that. I think that's not debatable. We have over 100 feet between the property line and where these activities would occur. 2, facilities must be designed, constructed, maintained, and operated to minimize the possibility of fire or explosion or any unplanned or non-sudden release of hazardous waste products in air, soil, or surface water, which could threaten human health and the environment. So the facility is, I believe, you guys, anybody from the city is welcome to go on site after the fact, at some point in the future. It's constructed and maintained to prevent any of that from happening. The floors are like impervious, they're concrete with a coating of some kind of epoxy. Any storage of hazardous waste containers that would be there if you were to grant the permit would be at least 20 feet from exterior doors, walls, and it's a concrete structure, so the walls are concrete, the floor is concrete. So we meet that that requirement. Then it says dikes or other structures shall be constructed such that all surface spills or discharges of hazardous waste products will be contained on site. So again, the way it's constructed currently, high likelihood to prevent anything from going off site. I can't say there's dikes currently in place. The only place, if we actually did need them, would probably be by the bay doors. But that's something, the town or the city and can look at, and they need to come to that determination if that's required. The operator must prevent unknown entry and minimize the possibility for the unauthorized entry of persons or livestock onto the active portion. So this site, we meet that, we exceed it. I mean, it's a very secure site. Even when people are in the building, the doors are locked. Like I visited them last year, and I was stuck outside for like half hour because, the doors are locked. I couldn't get in. It's a very secure facility. You have closed-circuit TV cameras and a fence around the facility.
Fence around the docks as well as and it has gates on both ends.
Yeah. And then 5, the petitioner shall agree that the contingency plans will be developed upon receipt of special use permit and submitted to the city of Reidsville before operation of the facility begins. These plans must describe the actions to be taken by local officials and city emergency and safety departments in response to fires, explosions, or any unplanned sudden or non-sudden release of hazardous waste products to air, soil, or surface water at the facility or while the hazardous waste products are in transport within the jurisdiction of the city of Reidsville. So currently the site has a contingency plan for what they do there now, and our transporters were required to have a contingency plan. So if you were to issue the permit, we probably have 95+% of what's required, but we would work with the city, whoever that may be, and coordinate any additional requirements that somebody might think that we needed. But we are, because for DOT, Department of Transportation, and pretty much every state requires a contingency plan to transport hazardous waste over the road. So, odors, no obnoxious odors from the hazardous waste facility shall be discernible on adjoining properties. All our containers are always kept closed, and there would never be any odors, so we meet that qualification. I can't think, if you had some drum of some kind of volatile solvent and somebody opened it, that's about the only way, but 10 days don't open containers. We don't open containers. There would never be any odors coming from the process. Off-site transport, as a prerequisite for approval of a special use permit, the City Council shall find that the use of the proposed facility will not endanger the safety of residential or other properties in the area, and that vehicular traffic to the storage or transferring facility will be provided from major thoroughfares and will not require the use of residential streets to access the facility. So it's currently, as you know, it's in an industrial area.
So I can ask on that one, but is it the same road that people are using to get to the hotels, or is it a different road, the access? How's the access to that property? I can't really picture it.
You You get off exit 29.
Yeah, you get off at Undo.
To Barn Street.
Right.
And then turn right onto Rockingham Drive, and it's right there. So that Holiday Inn is across the street on Barn Street.
No, the Holiday Inn's on that side. No, there's another hotel across the street. There's two hotels on the same side as you. The Holiday Inn Express is on your side. So does it share the road? It does.
Up the street.
Yeah, okay.
All right, okay. But yeah, Route 29 is the main road, and then...
Now the Hotel 6 or whatever the one across is across the street. That's across the street.
That's only for our business, Pella, the Dallas Center at the top of the road. and
Yeah, Pella's back there.
Holiday Inn, that's the only thing on
Okay. All right. Yes, for the insurance.
The owner-operator of the hazardous waste transfer facility shall allow authorized officials or representatives of the city of Reidsville access to the site and all facilities at any time without prior notice. The purpose of such inspection shall be to check for the compliance and provisions of special use permit. That's not an issue. Both site managers would welcome any city or state local official on site.
So there's like a call box at the gate for them to get onto the property?
No, the front office, that was the first picture. There's no gate to get into there, straight off the road into the
Okay.
parking area.
The strip.
Just where the trucks and trailers come in, it's all gated.
Okay, so, yeah, I was just wondering for access.
Oh,
There's also a Knox box at the front door if it were an emergency or something after hours that the fire department has access to.
Sure.
It has keys to everything.
Right. Okay.
I'll make one correction. I just want to make sure I misspoke. The floor is concrete. All the walls are not. So there's some concrete walls, but there's also your typical warehouse metal frame structural walls.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so that, yeah, so that's all right.
And again, we would welcome any of you to come out and visit.
Okay.
I think it'd be helpful.
James, you have a question?
Following on that point that you were making, I was going to ask a question about the floors. Concrete floors with epoxy over to make it impermeable. The walls themselves, if some liquid gets out and gets to the corner of the building, what keeps it from exiting by way of the walls themselves? Is there any kind of sealant that's on the walls?
No, and that's why I said it would be great to have someone come out and kind of look at what we're talking about. It'd be very difficult for it to escape because it's going to be over 20 feet out from the edge. But it would be a good visual, and if there's some kind of recommendation or requirement, we're able to make it happen.
Not only that, keep in mind, it's 50,000 square foot or more on that side of the building, which is a very big space.
It is.
You would not, the only place where the wall is open is at the docks. So
Okay.
you're not going to want to store anything in front of your docks. That's where you're going to be loading your trucks. So you're going to be 20 feet, probably more like 40 or 45 feet from the wall is going to be where the activities are happening. So the chances of, even say a 55-gallon drum of material, if it completely comes out of the drum, chances of it getting to that wall are very slim. Very slim. And I'd also add, these drums are in transportation, and these are the same drums you pass going up and down the road every day. If it leaks 55 gallons on that truck, it's not getting contained by anything.
You also have absorbent stuff to throw around it if it does, I mean.
Sure, but I guess my point is that inside the building, especially where, like you said, it would be helpful for you to see it. But inside the building is safer than on the truck.
Sure. Okay.
But it meets any kind of structural kind of regulations around, say, if there was a severe storm or things like that, there is kind of structural criteria that need to be met to make sure that it can really uphold at least a reasonably strong storm and that kind of stuff. Okay.
I would say it's built to the exact same standards as another facility in Reidsville that's actual Part B
Yeah.
hazardous facility.
Yeah, we were aware of those. Yeah, them. Okay.
One question, these two pictures that y'all sent us, if you're facing the front door, I saw it's in the back half. Is it in the left or the right? This picture shows it on one and the other on the other.
If you look at, oops. So this picture, the corner, see the higher part of the building? That's kind of to the left of the center of the picture. You went diagonally across that to the back of the building, that's where it would be.
If you turned on the Rockingham Drive and went past the Holiday Inn,
On the
Right.
left side?
this is going another 50 yards just before you turn into our parking lot. The activities are going to be happening on the back side of this facility, basically straight through the back side. It's fenced and gated all the way around.
Right. Is your building in quarters the way it looks here? I mean,
It is. We call it high bay, low bay. On the side that we're talking about doing this operation is a high ceiling, very high ceiling. The other side has a low ceiling, so it's
okay.
like 50,000 square feet on each side, but
Well, just tell from these aerial photographs whether it's on, if you're facing the front door, whether it's on the left or the right, so,
yeah. And most of that activity is going to be in the building,
right.
but of course it is a transportation function, so you can be loading and unloading trucks. So part of it necessarily has to happen at the dock.
Another question was that you said it wasn't medical waste, it's going to be primarily chemical waste, chemical, not medical, like kind of, okay, primary, okay.
I've actually been in a 10-day lot, I think it was out in Indiana. It was literally a dirt parking lot where trailers would like just back up to each other, I guess. I'm not even sure how they managed it, but yeah, let's see.
I'm sorry, I have one additional question. These materials are in the process of bringing them into your facility. I take it one of the not backhoe, but forklifts are used to transport it off the transport mechanism? Okay.
Either that or a pallet jack or,
Right, okay. You've been in business for quite a while here in Reidsville. How many times in your history have you had any kind of leakage at your facility that required any kind of special intervention?
Keep in mind that we're not doing this process right now.
Okay.
So the materials that we bring in now are non-haz. They're not something that would need to be in-date or would be transported from us to someone else. So it just doesn't apply.
Okay. So today, we haven't had those kinds of events occur?
We've never had a spill at the facility that would even come close to leaving the premises.
Okay.
Or even getting to a wall.
So currently, there's no part of this building is being, right now, like already being used as for any of that.
For a 10-day, no, sir.
Okay. Is it being used at all?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, all right.
We're bringing in non-haz.
Just non-hazardous
Yes.
stuff, not, okay.
That's why
And
they're
then-
applying for the 10-day.
And then,
Yes, ma'am.
okay.
So you don't do any treating of the,
No, that's a
From here to there.
TSDF function. This is a strictly transportation
Yeah.
function.
yeah, okay.
Consolidating, and the whole purpose of a 10-day is for transportation efficiency. You don't want to have, like, send a straight truck, like, 10 times back and forth,
Right.
where you can go to one facility, unload, put them in a 53-foot trailer, and then have, like, maybe one trip instead of, like, say, 10 trips to whatever the destination facility is.
So you
Are you all
accumulate it, do you get a load within that 10 days, or?
Yes,
So-
it's required.
Yeah.
That's the law, and if you don't get a full 48-footer or
Yeah.
53-footer,
Right.
you're gonna ship it anyway.
Okay.
They give you 10 days to get a full load, but that's it.
Right, the state,
Days is the limit, not the limit.
Is all the same stuff on that truck? I mean, is it all either just,
The
or do you have mixed loads? Some of
idea
it,
of the 10-day To make it as simple as I possibly can, is I've got 14 box trucks coming from Georgia, and do I want to send 14 box trucks from Georgia to Hatfield, Pennsylvania, or should I stop 14 trucks in Reidsville and fill up one 53-footer
Right.
and ship that to Pennsylvania? It's about economics and scale. If you can get more on the truck, your transportation dollar goes further.
My question is, when your truck leaves, is everything on that truck the same stuff?
No, sir.
Are you mixing? Okay, I mean, you can have some of one, some of the other, but it all goes to the same
No,
place.
sir. It depends on, like flammable liquid may go a different direction than corrosive liquid. One may go wastewater treatment, one may go for fuel. So one may be in Pennsylvania, one may be in, wherever.
Well,
You would want to put like materials on the same truck.
that's what I was asking.
For bulk,
That's what I
yeah.
was asking.
Bulk
Yeah.
shipment.
For bulk load. But that's not always gonna be the case.
Yeah,
We're
like-
shipping a lot of times to TSDFs,
Yeah.
true TSDFs, where they are gonna receive a lot of different things, and then they're gonna build outbounds of like material to dispose of.
And you'll find that the deeper you get into the regulations, the deeper in the weeds. It's harder to understand because there's so many different regulations that apply from so many different directions.
Yeah.
DOT, OSHA,
Oh, yeah.
EPA, and you have to abide by them all and still, run a business and make a dollar.
Yeah.
I used to work on pipelines. I know what you're talking about.
Is there an ISO certification for this, and do you have it?
I don't think so.
What's the problem?
ISO?
Oh, we don't have an ISO certification.
I was just wondering.
To further answer your question, like when waste gets picked up from a generator, that manifest will specify which TSDF it will go to. So Clean Earth has a TSDF, like I said, in Hatfield, Pennsylvania. We have a couple in Alabama, one in Rhode Island, but mostly Hatfield and Alabama, probably 2 locations. And with the retail waste, the way it's packaged, like those drums I showed you earlier,
Right.
there's containers in those drums that are usually a gallon or less. Like, bleach comes in whatever size, a couple different containers. All your, like cleaners, like Fantastic and Drano, things for that, like corrosive stuff. Like they'll get packaged compatibility-wise in one same drum, but it's possible that there could be another small drum of, like, say, aerosols, or another box, aerosols of flammable gas, or maybe something that's a flammable liquid. They could be on the same truck, and they're in compatible containers, they're not gonna interact, and DOT has a compatibility chart of what can go on a trailer. There's certain things that can't go on the same trailer. You can't put, like, acid cyanide in the same trailer. You can't, and there's thing between corrosives and flammable solids. So when our company builds loads, they're following the guidance from EPA and DOT, making sure it's all, because we're subject to roadside inspections too. So any given time, a DOT cop can pull up any of our trucks off to the side of the road and look at the manifest, tell them to open the back of the trailer, look at that. They conduct those inspections. So we have to be on our game to make sure everything's, loaded and secured properly and all our paperwork's in order, just because those are all fines potentially if we had any type of violation from those inspections.
Yeah, you see the trucks going down the road with the different placards on them that indicates what they're carrying.
Yeah, that's what's
Yeah,
inside.
yes.
So, yeah. And then the bulk ones have the numbers. You see the numbers.
Right,
That's when.
right.
Yeah. I think I only had 3 more things left on my list. Monitoring, in the event of any assumed accidental discharge of hazardous waste, the petitioner shall agree to pay at all costs of monitoring and analysis of air, soil, and surface or subsurface water quality as may be deemed necessary by the Reidsville City Council to protect human health and the environment. The monitoring may take place on and or off-site and shall be conducted by a certified laboratory which has no association with either the city of Reidsville or the petitioner. So yeah, we would hire an outside consultant and obviously pay any associated bills with that, if that were to be necessary. Insurance, like I said, we have said owners of hazardous waste transfer storage facilities shall provide evidence that they have adequate liability insurance to cover the cost of all cleanup associated with that may be necessary as a result of any spill or discharge of hazardous waste, either during storage, transferring, or transporting within the jurisdiction of Reidsville. So this is our certificate of liability insurance. It has all the limits on it that I mentioned earlier. So we have that. Required buffers, where a hazardous waste facility abuts a lot in a residential district or land occupied by any residential use permitted by this ordinance, there shall be provided and maintained along the said property line a continuous visual buffer. The buffer shall be compact green, evergreen hedge, or other type of evergreen foliage screening, or shall be a combined fence and shrubbery screen, the latter facing the residential use. So I don't believe there's no residential properties.
No, it's just the hotel that I had brought up. But, I mean, they have been notified, so, and they don't seem to have a concern, so they could have come to state that concern, but.
And then off-street parking, one space for each 2 employees on the largest shift, and 1 space for every truck to be stored or stopped simultaneously. So they definitely meet and exceed that requirement. They have about 15 or 20 employees currently.
Yes.
And you have like, I don't know how many parking spaces, you got a lot. Like like that, you can see that parking lot. That's
the parking lot today, and that is everybody there.
And that's like maybe 15-20% max of. And additionally, on the end of the building, if it's not in the picture, is additional parking.
And it's not shared, it's just for you. It's not shared,
Yeah, it's
just for you.
Right.
And you did say that all the handling of material is inside the building.
Or on the truck.
Yeah.
Necessarily. I mean, you have to.
I mean, there's nothing going from a bay over here to a bay over here through the parking lot. So,
No, that would
Okay.
be, I can't think of a reason why you would do that.
yeah, I'm just,
That's a good question though, but that would never happen.
yeah, it's all
That's,
inside the building or the truck.
So that's everything that I needed to address. I don't know if you guys have any additional questions.
Does anyone have any other questions? Okay. All right. Discussion amongst ourselves, or is that the next thing? Anyone have any? Okay. So what should I read, Jason?
The findings of fact.
The findings of, oh, I got it. Mhm.
And don't
All right.
make a motion to recommend that it be approved. Right.
Yep. All right. So I will read the findings of fact, and then for each one, we'll need to make a motion to accept that it was met, and second for each one, correct?
You will vote on each one first.
Each one.
The motion will come at the end.
Okay, so we just say, we just vote straight up, not motions. Got it. Okay, thank you. Sorry, this is my first time as chair.
You're doing great.
All right, so the first findings of fact is that the use will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where proposed and developed according to the plan as submitted and approved. Does everyone agree that that is true? Agree. Agree? Okay. Unanimous? Yes. 2, that the use meets all required conditions and specifications. Agree. That the use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, or that the use is as a public necessity. Agree? And 4, that the location and the character of the use, if developed according to the plan as submitted and approved, will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located and in the general conformity with the comprehensive plan for Reidsville and its surroundings. Agree? Agree. All right, would anyone like to make a motion to support that all findings of fact have been met?
Make a motion that we accept.
Okay. Second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. All right, well, the finding of facts have been approved for the special use permit S 2024-02. Yes? Anything else that you need here? All right, great, thank you very much. We appreciate it. All right, so next on our agenda.
Those dates for rescheduling.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. I'll wait till they leave off.
Yeah, same, it'll be the same as tonight. It'll be another hearing.
Who is the director? Jason.
So is there a certain point in time that anyone, in case anyone would like to visit, we can schedule?
They actually can't do that because it's ex parte communication. They have to make a decision based on the hearing.
Okay.
There wouldn't be any way that anyone could come visit.
All right, well, that's fine.
Thank you. No, not at all. Thank you.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
Yeah, we appreciate your thorough presentation. We appreciate that. We don't always get that. All right, so we're going to move on to our next item on our agenda, and that's for the proposed dates for rescheduling of our UDO meeting.
Yeah, so I would ask that we table this item because when we scheduled that on the agenda, after discussion with Senate Bill 382, as y'all seen the emails from me regarding the major changes that have made to zoning in North Carolina, we're in the process of scheduling a work session with council to get direction on how to address that bill in the UDO and how to get direction moving forward. So I think we should have that work session with them before we reconvene the steering committee.
Can I ask a question about that email? About the content of it, not the email. So this down zoning, could you explain a little bit more and give us maybe a couple examples? I think that would help me if you could give me some concrete examples.
Mr. Chairman, Jason, I had a prior engagement. Is it okay if I may be excused for the rest of the meeting?
Y'all need a vote to excuse.
Are y'all okay?
We can't do without you.
Can I be excused for the rest of the meeting?
Be excused.
Everybody, is everyone, I will make a motion to allow Thomas Thompson to leave early before we are finished our business. Would anyone like to second that?
I second.
Everybody approve? I was like, all right.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you.
And wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Thomas. We'll see you in January.
Holidays.
Thank you. So that was the, yes.
Okay, so yeah, like I said in my email that I sent to you all,
Yeah.
so down zoning, so what SB 382 did, what SB 382 did was, number one, previously, any down zoning, which basically means when you have a piece of property and you have an existing zoning district, if you rezone it and you're reducing the uses that are allowed there, that's down zoning. So
Okay.
most commonly it's considered with residential, like you're going from ultra low density, like our RA20 district or R20 district, to a higher density, that's upzoning. So you're
Right.
increasing, you're decreasing setbacks, you're allowing more uses, you're allowing multifamily, you're allowing more uses. Downzoning would be just an example if you're going from something like R6 or R12, which allow multifamily, to a district like R20 that does not allow multifamily.
So would that be the one that's coming up?
No, there's nothing coming. Not with that. That's actually, well, technically, I guess it kind of is because it's.
Yeah, because it's going from like, something like, it's going from higher density to lower density, right? The one that's coming up, correct?
It is, but the only thing is, the change that it made, so previously, you had to have the owner's approval to downzone. However, local governments were exempt and could downzone at will.
Okay.
So the local government could come in and downzone if they.
So we could still downzone it as long as the property owner approves it?
Yes. So that what
Okay.
SB did was it required local governments to get consent from the owner if they wanted to downzone property. That's the first part of it. That's
Okay.
honestly the least concerning part.
Okay.
So that's the first part of it. So it's removing government-initiated downzoning without owner consent.
Okay.
So they remove that.
Okay.
The second part of it is that it forbids introducing new regulations that create nonconformities in non-residential districts. What I mean by nonconformity is like a more extensive buffer for a use from residential. Like say if we currently have a requirement for, I'm just trying to think of a use off the top of my head, any sort of use from residential, like say it's like a 500-foot buffer. If we went from 500 foot to 1,000 foot, then that's making it non-conforming. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Because you're imposing a stricter regulation.
Right.
So what the second part of it is, it brought downzoning into introducing regulations that create nonconformities. It's not previously a thing that we really considered with downzoning. It kind of is, but this kind of changes things. So what that means is with the UDO is that we have to figure out how to address that, and there's planning professionals across the entire state are trying to figure out how to address this. And our consultant's one of them. Everyone's kind of scrambling, trying to figure out, because it is retroactive. So that means that, let's say a local government adopted a whole new UDO in the past few months, since June the 4th, I believe, of this year.
That's why you're saying that we lucked out, because we hadn't completed it
If
yet.
that development code created nonconformities, it may be nullified. Now, there's some legal interpretation of the statute going on to figure out how to interpret it. If there's any other ways to maneuver around it, that's not just strict interpretation of it, but that's all being discussed now because attorneys across the state for local governments are having to figure out how to handle it. Because you've got, like I said, some local governments who've adopted new codes, spent $100,000 on a brand new UDO that they just put in place. Well, if it created nonconformities, now it's kind of nullifying it.
So mostly, what we've been working on so far is we're actually creating less nonconformities, because we've been trying, not across the board, okay.
For uses, I mean.
Because we've been trying kind of to make it actually
If there's a current use that we
problems with
have,
that.
permitted currently, but in the UDO we're looking at taking it out, then that's a different story. So that's, again, downzoning. You're removing that use in the new code.
So what's the point of this one? The first one, I guess it's kind of more property owner rights. The first part, I feel like is a little bit more property owner rights. I guess that's where the legislature's going with this. I'm really confused where they're kind of going with it. The second one, it seems very
They're trying to lock
confusing.
in development regulations as they are currently to prevent local governments from instituting stricter requirements that are currently in place or were in place 6 months ago. So that's what they're trying to do, is to prevent more restrictive regulations than what currently exist from going into effect. That's.
Well, I would say for us, though, mostly we've been trying to do the opposite of this UDO from our old UDO, which was most of it. But so maybe for us at least, I can see.
If there was interest for
Maybe.
some new standards, some new things for downtown or any other things, it created even the slightest nonconformity. It depends on, again, how the legal, the attorneys come back and they find to interpret the statute.
Yes, you said it was kind of vague, or at least when I was talking to a consultant, he said it's a little difficult because it's kind of vague.
It's less than a paragraph. There's a lot of ambiguity in it. like, how does this apply to like our historic district? What if the local government wanted to expand their historic district? Well, you're putting stricter regulations in place than what they are now. I'm not saying we're looking at doing that. That's not something we're currently looking at, but anybody, I mean, it's just across the board, it just makes things more.
I'm just mostly confused of what the point of this at all was, and especially in this bill, which had nothing to do with this. It was bizarre. Yeah, it seems, yeah, I guess just, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Well.
That's a little bit about it. That's why we postponed the steering committee meeting.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand. That makes complete sense.
We were waiting to see how the General Assembly would vote, if they would override the veto, and they did. So right now, we're going to get direction from council on how they want to handle it. We're going to get some guidance from the consultant on how to interpret the statute. And there may be a couple of options on how we can maneuver it. So we just need to get that guidance before we need to carry forward with the steering committee. I would ask that if y'all would just mind tabling that.
Okay. Yeah, it just seems mostly just confusing. And that's the biggest stress, I think.
I'll make a motion to table. Is that what you're looking for?
Is that what we need? All right. Okay. I'll second. Everyone in favor to table the meeting? Oh. All right. And now we have Jason's director's report.
Thank you. Again, since our last meeting in September, of course, they've started construction on the apartments. I'm sure you've seen those off the Holiday Loop. They're really working. There's a ton of work going on out there, and they're trying to get them framed up very soon. So lots of work going on there.
Where is this at again?
Off the Holiday Loop Road.
87 like you're going.
Barn
just
Street.
past the truck stop.
Yeah.
On your left.
Like across from where we were talking about
Oh,
today?
those are luxury apartments you were talking about?
New business.
Industrial, I mean apartments.
Yeah, somebody said something about luxury apartments.
That's really, as far as like new notable building permits, that's really what we've issued. And that's going on, so I really don't have anything else to report at this time. All I have.
Thank you, Jason. Planning board members' comments. Anyone have anything to share? Everybody doing all right? Okay. All right. I don't have anything else. I just had some questions about the EDO stuff, and you answered them. Thank you. All right. Well, I make a motion to adjourn this meeting of the planning board. All in favor? Aye.